The gavel had not yet fallen, but the silence in the courtroom already felt like a verdict. Mason Calder sat with his weathered hands folded on the defense table. It's the same hands that once wrapped wrenches around diesel engines, now trembling faintly beneath the fluorescent lights. Across the aisle, Barton Kingsley adjusted his cufflinks with the calm of a man who had already won. On the screen behind the judge, Mason's own signature glowed in enlarged black ink proof, they claimed, of a fraud 15 years in the making. The doors at the back of the courtroom remained closed. The woman who could save him had not come. What happened over the next few hours would change both of their lives forever. Before we begin, if you believe kindness, humility, and second chances can change the world, please take a moment to like this video. Comment where you're watching from, share this story with someone who needs inspiration today, and subscribe to the Aura Fables for more unforgettable stories. 15 years earlier, Chicago's freight docks smelled of diesel and rain. Barton Kingsley, then a rising executive at a rival logistics firm, had never once set foot on a loading dock without a driver waiting to open his door. He judged men by the cut of their suits and the softness of their handshakes. And he had long ago decided that greatness belonged only to those born into it. Mason Calder belonged to no such world. He had once been a promising mechanical engineer, the kind of mind that could read a failing system the way other men read a newspaper. But when his wife succumbed to illness, leaving him alone with a young son, Mason walked away from blueprints and boardrooms to take a mechanic's job that paid less but let him be home by 6. He told himself the sacrifice was temporary, became his whole life. One rain-soaked night outside a Chicago bus depot, Mason found a 9-year-old girl named Willa curled beneath a cracked awning, clutching a torn backpack like it was the last thing tying her to the world. He did not walk past, brought her home, and within the year, he had given her his name. From a leaking garage with 3 secondhand trucks, Mason began stitching together the wounds he had seen bleeding through the freight industry for years. Empty return routes, wasted cold storage, docks frozen by companies too proud to share data. He built Calder Harbor and Rail not from a boardroom, but from grease and stubbornness. And the company grew into a $900 million empire. Yet Mason never left his coveralls behind. He still ate lunch on an overturned crate beside his drivers, still fixed his own truck when it broke down, still believed that the measure of a man had nothing to do with the size of his office. To Barton Kingsley, now chairman of Mason's own board after a merger years earlier, that humility was not admirable. It was an embarrassment, and it was about to become a weapon. The trouble began quietly, the way most betrayals do. An anonymous envelope arrived at Mason's home containing fragments of financial records suggesting manipulated shipment data. Mason dismissed it as a disgruntled employee's spite, unaware he was holding the first thread of a plot already unraveling around him. Weeks later, Kingsley's legal team filed a lawsuit accusing Mason of siphoning company funds into a private trust bearing Willa's name. The evidence looked damning: wire transfers, a trust agreement, and a signature that appeared unmistakably his own. What Mason did not yet know was that his own longtime CFO, a man he had personally mentored, had fed those very documents to Kingsley, not from greed but from years of quiet, crushing medical debt he had never confessed to anyone. Then came the second blow. Kingsley's lawyers unearthed a technicality buried in Willa's old adoption file. Her biological father was listed as unlocated, never confirmed deceased. Within days, a man surfaced in Chicago, claiming to be that father, hired by Van Dorn Equity to contest the adoption itself and unravel the trust from an entirely different angle. In the boardroom, panic replaced strategy. Consultants argued over each other, lawyers contradicted their own filings, and Kingsley smiled through it all, savoring the unraveling of a man he had resented since his own father lost a trucking company decades before. Back when a self-taught mechanic named Mason was quietly building an empire from the same industry's ashes. Mason said nothing, sat in the courtroom gallery in his old canvas jacket, watching men in tailored suits dismantle his life's work with paperwork instead of wrenches. The daughter he needed most had vanished days earlier without a word, and the doors at the back of the courtroom stayed shut. The doors finally opened. Willa walked in wearing a dark tailored suit, an old leather portfolio under her arm, her steps unhurried and certain. She had not abandoned her father. She had spent those missing days chasing 2 enemies at once, hunting the original trust documents in a records vault, and quietly investigating the stranger claiming to be her biological father. refusing to let a paid lie destroy her family a second time. She approached the clerk's table and identified herself as counsel of record. The gallery fell silent. Elliot Wainford objected immediately, calling her presence a conflict of interest. Willa answered without raising her voice since the plaintiffs had made her identity the centerpiece of their accusation. She had every right to answer it. She opened her portfolio and produced the original Founders Trust, proving Mason had not stolen from the company, but had built a legal wall to protect it from exactly this kind of hostile takeover. Then, under cross-examination, the man claiming to be her father broke down and confessed he had been paid $50,000 to make the claim collapsing. Van Doren's second attack entirely. Forensic analysis revealed the signature Kingsley called forged had actually been created years earlier by Mason's own CFO. Quietly restructuring the trust to shield it from an earlier hostile bid Mason never even knew about. The evidence built to destroy him had been built long ago to protect him. Then Willa delivered the final blow. She read aloud a clause Mason had written into the trust himself, provision stating that if the board ever weaponized his daughter's past to seize the company, voting authority would pass to her. The trust's named guardian, effective the moment such a betrayal occurred. Kingsley's own scheme had triggered the very safeguard meant to stop him. The gallery gasped. Judge Ellison ordered an immediate freeze on the acquisition and removed Kingsley from the board pending investigation. And then Willa revealed one final truth, a second clause naming her a co-founder in her own right, in recognition of dispatch software she had helped design as a teenager. The empire, it turned out, had never belonged to Mason alone. Across the room, Mason rose to his feet, and the courtroom-elect lawyers, executives, and clerks alike broke into applause. Willa's eyes filled with tears, not for the company saved, but for the father who had never once let her stand alone in the rain. Barton Kingsley offered a hollow apology before resigning in disgrace, his decades-long grudge finally exposed as inherited bitterness rather than justice. Priscilla Van Doren withdrew her bid entirely, her name quietly tied to an ongoing inquiry. Mason returned to the company he built, but this time he was not alone. He appointed Willa as permanent counsel to the Founders Trust and asked only one thing in return, that every dock worker and driver receive the same protections he had once needed and never had. Standing on the same pier where he had once repaired engines with grease-stained hands, Mason placed the old house key back into his coat pocket. The very key he had given a frightened 9-year-old girl 15 years before. True greatness, in the end, was never measured by titles or boardrooms. It was measured by character and by the quiet prom.